Coming to paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, 1987. Learn lessons about life and teenage love in the 1980s with this coming-of-age John Haynes story. Pre-order your copy of John Haynes, 1987 at online booksellers everywhere. There is new information in the death of Cash App founder Bob Lee. Now, when the story of the death of Cash App founder Bob Lee was reported, it was believed that he was the victim of violent crime that has run rampant in the city of San Francisco. However, new information has come out showing that Bob Lee was not the victim of violent crime in San Francisco. No, he was the victim of a homicide that was brought on as related to a dispute that he had with a friend, Nima Momani, who was arrested and charged for the murder of Bob Lee and was made the prime suspect after a series of text messages between Bob Lee and Nima Momani's sister, Kayzar Elisania, had been revealed by law enforcement. Now, according to police reports, Nima Momani allegedly was motivated to murder Bob Lee after he found out that his married sister, Kayzar Elisania, was with him and went out to have drinks with him. And as she went to have drinks with him and then spent some time with him in a hotel room, Nima Momani found out about these encounters, and he became extremely angry, and he went to go out and grill Bob Lee about what went on at those meetings. And he also was upset when he didn't believe he got the information that he wanted. And in another meeting with Bob Lee, where they were traveling inside of Nima Momani's BMW, he had a dispute with Bob Lee, brandished a kitchen knife allegedly, and then stabbed Bob Lee in the ribs. And this is what led to the incident where Bob Lee was found wandering in downtown San Francisco looking for help and getting none, winding up dropping in front of a business in San Francisco. And this is where police found him, brought him to the hospital, and after they brought him to the hospital, he wound up passing away. Now, the police still see the death of Bob Lee and his murder as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of the alleged murder of Bob Lee by Nima Momani, it fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis, and it also fits the pattern and profile for simps that I talk about in my book, Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance. Now, it's clear to me that Nima Momani was a man in crisis, and he was a man in crisis because he did not understand where boundaries were. Now, Nima Momani was a Muslim, and part of the Islamic faith is to go out and protect the women in a family. However, what Nima Momani really didn't understand was that there is a boundary that a man has to respect as related to family. Now, Nima Momani's sister, Kayzar Elisania, was a married woman, and because she was a married woman, there was no more need for him to go out here and look to protect his sister, because his sister was no longer a part of his auspices to protect at that point, because once she got married, it was the job and responsibility of her husband to go out here and check his wife's behavior, because once a sister winds up getting married to a man, she no longer is a part of the father's family at that point. And since she's no longer a part of the father's family at that point, that is where a brother goes out here and disengages as related to protecting his sister as the first line of defense, because once she is married, is now one with that man, and her job is to cleave to that man. So, if anybody should be getting in the face of Bob Lee for having drinks with his wife, it should be the husband of Kajar Alisania. It should have been her husband, the plastic surgeon, who should have had words with Bob Lee, because as a husband, what he needs to do, again, is let this man know where the line is as related to his wife, because what Bob Lee did, again, was a violation of the Islamic faith, which forbids drinking alcohol. I mean, that is a violation right there. And again, it was the husband's job to deal with his wife. It wasn't the job of the brother to step in. Now, I understand that Nima Momani's was friends with Bob Lee, but again, there is a protocol for things as related to the man code. And I'd like to think that the man code is something that goes beyond these religious rules, because the man code is a series of unwritten social rules that all men are supposed to respect. When it comes to the man code, a man is supposed to step aside and let another man handle his business as related to his woman. It is not his job to step in and handle another man's business, because yes, you are the brother of this woman, but it is not your job to step in. No, it is your job to respect the boundaries that are set as related to marriage, and it is your job to respect those boundaries and let that man handle that business. It was the job of the husband to come in and have that conversation with Bob Lee. It was the husband's job to check Bob Lee and let him know, hey, you're not supposed to be anywhere with my wife. You're not supposed to be drinking with my wife. You're not supposed to be in private with my wife. This is the man code. And again, this is with any religion. It's the code of men. When a woman is married, there is a completely different set of rules of engagement for married women or women in relationships. And men who are out here need to understand that code. When you are out here with a lady who is married or has a boyfriend, you always make sure that you're only out here with her husband or her boyfriend, because that is how you engage with a married woman or a woman who has a boyfriend. You only engage them in the presence of the husband or the boyfriend, and you do that to respect the boundaries, to let that man know that there is nothing inappropriate going on. And that is the unwritten social rule that all men go out here and follow. Unfortunately, Bob Lee looks like he was another one of these beta males who really, again, did not understand the concept of boundaries. And because he did not understand the concept of boundaries, he went out here and decided, oh, I'm going to go hang out with this woman and, again, violate the rules of her religion, which is drinking with her. Again, complete violation of Islamic faith. And then he's going to go out here and go and be in a hotel room with this woman. Again, complete violations of Islamic faith, and also violating the man code overall. This again, Bob Lee was not thinking critically. He was acting on emotion, and he was not thinking smart as related to this woman who was the sister of one of his friends, because again, complete violation of man code, going out with this woman without her husband. I mean, any man out here understands, look, if this woman is married or she's a friend of one of the sister of one of my friends, Again, I'm not going out with her unless they are present, because this is going to look suspicious, and those suspicions, when you're dealing with beta males, is going to trigger their insecurities. And that's exactly what happened here with Nima Momeni. His insecurities wound up getting triggered, and as his insecurities got triggered, he was thinking, oh, I'm gonna go protect my sister, first by going out here and interrogating his sister, then going out here and grilling Bob Lee. And when the answers did not convince him nothing was going on, that's when his insecurities turned from frustration to rage, and that's when he went to participate in the alleged possible murder of Bob Lee, planning to take his life to defend the honor of a sister who basically was dishonorable, and again putting his own health, safety, and freedom at risk, looking to defend the honor of a dishonorable woman, and not thinking about more important intangibles of his manhood, again, like his dignity, his self-respect, and most importantly, his freedom. Because, again, it was the job of her husband, Dr. Dino Elisania, to come in and deal with Bob Lee. It was the job of Dr. Dino Elisania, her husband, to go out here and do this. It was not the job of Nima Momeni to go out here and try to defend the honor of his sister, because the honor of his sister was supposed to be the job of being protected by her husband, Dr. Dino Elisania. Unfortunately, what Nina Momeni wanted to do was go out here and try to be the hero, not understanding how he was putting his whole life and career and freedom in jeopardy. Because while he may have gone out here and stood up to Bob Lee, what happens is nobody standing up for him, as he's now dealing with first-degree murder charges. And now as he's dealing with first-degree murder charges, he is basically on the road to losing everything, because if he is convicted for the murder of Bob Lee, what will happen is there is nobody there to protect his sister, Kazar Alisania, at this point, and there's nobody there to protect her from predatory males, because he will be now fighting inside of that penitentiary with Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, and Big Dave, and Melvin, as he's fighting for protecting his own honor, as he's trying to avoid being traded for Little Debbie snack cakes, Raymond noodles, packets of Crystal Light, packets of Taster's Choice coffee, off-brand Oreo cookies, off-brand lemon cookies, Fritos chips, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pies, Marshmallow Peeps. I mean, he's trying to fight for his life, as he's trying to avoid being traded for groceries and commissary, and again, stuck in a situation which will put him in a worse situation. And this is why a man understands where there are boundaries as related to defending any woman's honor. No, a man's job is only to defend a woman's honor when she is acting honorable. A man's job is to protect the honor of a woman who shows other men respect by acting respectable. A man's job is to protect women who are presenting themselves in a respectable manner. And if a woman does not present herself in a respectable manner and does not submit to the authority of those men, then that man's job is not to protect that woman, even if they are a relative, if that woman is acting in a way that is showing that she is out of line. That's where a man starts to pull back as related to protecting her, because he needs to protect himself, and he needs to protect himself to preserve his safety, his health, and his freedom. Because if women actively walk into situations that are about dishonoring herself, then it is a man's job to step aside and say, my protection at this point is no longer available because you are putting yourself in these situations of jeopardy intentionally, and you are violating code because when you go out here and actively do things to violate code, I can check you to a point, but I'm not going to go out here and looking to commit crimes to go out here and put myself at risk, because that's what Nemo Momeni didn't understand. He didn't understand that, yeah, you love your sister, but you have to love yourself more. And you have to love yourself because at the end of the day, when you are a man, the only person who can protect you is you and the Most High. And you have to look out for your health, safety, and freedom, because this woman will still be out here acting ratchet. If she's violating her religion by drinking with Bob Lee, she's definitely done this with other men. And if she's going to hotel rooms with other men while she is married and knows the code of her religion, then that really shows that there's issues with her character. And again, because Nina Momeni allegedly wasn't thinking critically. He wasn't thinking critically about their boundaries being set as related to protecting a sister. Now, I have sisters, and again, I understand I want to look out for my sisters, but the whole thing is I have to look out for my own health, safety, and freedom. And again, while you want to protect your sister, you don't want to walk into something being a simp, because simps walk into situations believing they have to protect women, not understanding women have to go out here and look out for you, and they have to look out for you by not imperiling themselves, by putting themselves in dangerous situations willfully and intentionally, or going out here and participating in actions that can, again, trigger something, because at that point you're playing with fire again, because again, a man will protect you if you're not intentionally doing things, and that's his job. He can protect you to that point. But as I see it, Czech entrepreneur Nemo Momeni threw away a promising career and a great life because he got in his feelings as related to a sister, instead of understanding that it was never his place to step in and get into it with Bob Lee. Yeah, Bob Lee was your friend, and you really were upset that your friend violated the man code, but it wasn't your place to get in his face and try and go out here and murder him over it. No, your job was to step aside and let the man who was in charge of that woman, the husband of that woman, handle that business. It is the job of a husband to go out here and let Bob Lee know, okay, you're violating as related to the man code. It is his job to say, hey, you don't need to be any place with my wife at all. That is disrespectful to me, and it's my job to let you know you're not to be any place with my wife. That is his job. And I find it interesting that this doctor who was married to this woman is silent, because you would think he would be the first man to deal with this. And again, you have this entrepreneur. Again, he's a brother, and I understand being a brother and wanting to protect your sisters. But again, it's chain of command as related to men. And because there's a chain of command, a husband, again, he is now the person who is the head of that woman. And as the head of that woman, it's his job to handle that business. And that's what, brothers, it may frustrate you to do this, but if this is not what he wants to do, then that says something about him. And you need to stay out of that business, because getting into that business can lead to you, again, winding up putting yourself in a situation like Nemo Momeni, who is now going from being a tech executive who was living a high life to now looking to try to avoid, if he is convicted, Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, and Big Dave, turning him out and turning him into a wide receiver. This is what can happen to a man. If he's not thinking critically and acts impulsively, he can go from being a man who had great success to becoming a man in crisis. Now, if you want to learn why males wind up participating in violent crime like this, and wind up on a road to this type of dysfunctional behavior, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Smashware's The iBookstore and Google Play. And if you want to see me do more videos about men in crisis, you can send a donation to the PayPal, the Patreon, or the PayPal, and I'll make a video, more videos about men in crisis. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes' Godbreaker. The man who rules the world takes on the Asgardian god of thunder in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' Godbreaker in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, The Temptation of John Haynes. Given to temptation, pick up this action-packed African-American paranormal romance. Get The Temptation of John Haynes in paperback and e-readers today.